As we approach the end of Festival of the Lost 2025, I wanted to revisit my initial impressions from a few weeks ago to see how my thoughts on the new revamped seasonal event have developed over the course of the last few weeks. That video can be seen on the screen in a card, or you can go browse my channel for that if you wish. The first section I covered was the tower, and my thoughts remain more or less the same on this topic. The tower is fully decorated, which is always great to see. I do love the decorations in the tower for all the events they do, and Festival of the Lost is arguably the best, just because of all the aesthetic lighting, the candles, just the mood that it creates in the tower. I always love some good tower decorations. I did note some things such as the tree hologram doesn't work, which it still doesn't work. I don't know if that was a bug which they just didn't fix because it wasn't a high priority, or if that was on purpose, but that is still a bit sad. Overall, though, the tower decorations are basically perfect, and the hologram, I guess you can take a point off for, and they can always improve, but I would give the tower decorations probably about a 9 out of 10. I don't know if they've changed from previous years, but they look as good as they always have, and seeing all of them actually be present instead of parts of the tower being undecorated is always great to see. The system/event page is still a bit cumbersome to navigate. I still find it odd that Eva was used for the main intro quest primarily, and then immediately as soon as that's complete it basically switches over to the event page. I think that sort of makes the intro quest redundant because you're not really told how to use the event page, and the event page, even as a seasoned Destiny player such as myself, is very difficult to navigate, even just to find basic things. Once you get the hang of it, it's a bit more straightforward, but I'm still not used to the whole thing, and I've been playing the activity pretty consistently for the past 3 weeks. It could do with some rejigging. I still think that the main activities for the event should be in the portal's featured menu on like the home screen of the portal, instead of having to click into the event and then click into like the Play Now tab in order to see your different locations and activities you can play. It feels really all over the place. And it also feels odd that you can access the entire event from the event page, apart from weapon focusing, which only Eva can do. It feels like if you're going to go the route of make everything be in the event page, apart from one thing, you may as well incorporate that one thing instead of force people to go to the tower for like one action. It should either be do everything in the tower or do nothing in the tower. I feel like it shouldn't be this weird mismatch of stuff, especially if it's only one thing extra you can do in the tower. It feels pointless. So the whole system event page, much to be desired. I think there are improvements being had. I think I would rate this a 5 out of 10 because it still didn't feel great, and at no point during the event was I like, yeah, this is good. I did play the Red Rumble Crucible activity, I believe it's called, and that was sort of the secondary activity for this event, with the first being Haunted Altars. But since I didn't cover Red Rumble in my initial video, I thought I would cover it now. I hated the game mode, absolutely despise it with a passion, terrible. I don't understand how people are playing it. For those who don't know, it's Rumble with a headless one in it. Rumble is free-for-all essentially, so there's like 6, I think, or 8 guardians, and you all fight each other, and first 20 or 30 points wins. I don't quite remember. I'm not good at Crucible. I'm not even going to pretend I am. But I'm still not abysmal, and how I did isn't indicative of how good the game mode is. I didn't do well. But I found that having the headless one just roam around the map felt really, really weird. Granted, if you stay around the headless one, or if you just like spawn in and nip over there, you're more than guaranteed to always encounter somebody, and it does play with the radar in a bit, so if you stick right next to the headless one and manage to not be being destroyed by it, you can be in that bit of a blind spot in the radar for other people, other guardians, so it can be good from that perspective, and I definitely got some kills by doing that. But I believe the intention is that you're able to kill the headless one. And I don't know what you get if you manage to do that. Nobody in my one game I played was able to do it. And the health still stayed like basically full health. And I pumped quite a lot of damage into it. And other people were doing the same thing. So I don't know if the intention is actually to kill it, but it sounded like that from the description. I'm assuming that if you do manage to kill the headless one, you get some bounty of points to help make up the kills that you lost out on by like shooting a punching bag. But overall, I didn't really like it. I think this is the first time it's been in the game from my understanding. I hated it. I despised it. It's also not at all what I expected it to be from the description of the activity, but Either way, I'm steering clear of that in the future if it comes back, but I despised it. 2 out of 10. Every single time I have played Haunted Altars of Sorrow, my opinion of the game mode has gotten better and better, and it was already pretty good to begin with. There is no doubt in my mind that Haunted Altars of Sorrow is immensely better than Haunted Lost Sectors. And granted, we did have Haunted Lost Sectors for like 2 or 3 years, and they didn't really add that many Lost Sectors each time it came back. It had at least the variety of using different Lost Sectors, and there was a pool of 3, 4, 5 of them or something like that. Haunted Altars of Sorrow only uses the Altars of Sorrow location from the moon, and you have to ask how much variety can they actually pack in there. The answer is a lot, apparently. Your home base headless one that you feed can move to, as far as I can tell, basically any of the circles around that area, which leads to a lot of variety with the locations enemies can come from, the order of circles that actually activate for the different waves, where you can place down turrets and trip mines, for example, where the wee crystals appear that then drop 30 motes and one of the Reaper scythes. There's a bunch of variety that actually appears in that game mode despite only using the one location, which I think is incredible. The main disappointment I have with the game mode is still the Wave 3, which is the Dread Wave. The first wave, to my understanding from memory, is the Taken Wave. Wave 2 is the Hive Wave, and then Wave 3 is Dread. And that Dread Wave, as I said in the initial video, does hit the performance of Destiny quite immensely, it seems. Now, my computer never struggled with it. I never noticed frame drops or anything like that. Having said that, my game is locked to 60 frames per second, and my computer was updated over the course of the last few years, so it isn't really comparable to a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. So I can understand getting performance hits to frame rate on those consoles, but I wouldn't necessarily feel it. Having said that, Sidekick's Destiny on her computer did crash a few times whilst playing that Wave 3. I can't remember if she's played it since that video, but there hasn't been any more crashes. I haven't observed anybody in the games I've been playing having left during Wave 3 or anything like that. So as far as I can tell, that was probably a issue with Destiny, which was being enhanced by the driver being a bit old. Regardless, Wave 3 is still pretty bad for performance. I think it's less of an actual Destiny client issue, to be honest, and I think it's more of a networking thing. I think by the time you reach Wave 3, there's so much other stuff that's happened. And I mean, you have all of the blue triangles on the ground for your candy moots, your treat boots, whatever they are. You've got the fact that it's a wave which requires 160 candy to be deposited at the headless one. You can have way more moots on the ground than the previous waves, is probably another contributing factor. The Dread themselves do use more activities. I've seen people dispute this, but I had to think about it, and I think in the other two waves, the primary combatants that appear are Thrall, and then you do have Acolytes and you do have Ogres and some Knights, but I believe the most volume of enemies is really Thrall. And with the Dread wave, you primarily have the Scions. Now there are Husks, and then like the bat flying ones, and I don't think the Husks have abilities they can use, but I think there's more Scions than there are Husks. And even at that, with everything else that's going on, I think it just causes the game to have a bit of a meltdown with the network at least. I think there's just too much stuff for it to communicate out to the server and all the other clients and stuff, which is probably why that happens. The difficulty of Wave 3, independent of the actual performance issues, is also just too much. The Dread are just more difficult to fight. They don't really have a basic enemy type. They're all like orange bars. Even if they're not, they're pretty difficult to actually damage. The Scions have a bunch of just annoying abilities. The fact that there's also Tormentors and Subjugators that appear in that Wave 2, which doesn't exactly help with that. So I think in the future I would really like to see them tone down Wave 3 a bit. Either sort of give the Dread less health, or to help with the performance issue as well, just add in the other enemy types as well. I think a good compromise might be to have a third of the enemies be Taken, a third of them be Hive, and a third of them be Dread, or maybe just have primarily Taken with then your odd Scion thrown in and make the high value target moat dropping enemies be Subjugators and Tormentors. I think that'd be perfect, and I think it would scale the difficulty pretty well. The final boss battle is pretty good. I don't really have any uses with it. In the initial video I was a bit peeved that nobody really seemed to understand you have to weave your stick 6 times at all the different streakers to damage the boss, and I was having to do it to everything. But then there seems to be a timer on each of them, so it doesn't really permanently work. But then it seems variable. So I wonder if that is then, maybe there's not actually a timer on you wave your stick and then it actually expires in 10 seconds. Maybe the game doesn't register that I waved the stick and therefore it's just rubber banding the fact that I waved my stick. Either way, a lot of stick waving was added. People do seem to understand that you have to wave your stick now, so I'm actually okay with that. I still think the fact that it unwaves your stick probably needs to be looked at. I don't know if that's intended or not. Either way, it's really annoying, and I'd prefer if it didn't happen. But at the end of the day, I think people have sort of caught on to the fact that you have to wave your stick, and there's a good bit of cooperation going on now, which I'm very happy about. So my main issue was really just that wave 3. Side notes, pumpkin bombs, I like them. They're pretty useless, but I like that they're there. So they could increase the damage, but honestly I think as a fun wee aside, pretty good. Hats. The hats are really fun. I managed at most to collect, I think, like 5 or 6 hats at one time. The hats do actually have an effect. I think they scale your damage. So you can collect loads and loads and loads of hats. I believe they're all over the game during the event being active, but specifically during Haunted Altars. Actually really fun. I did enjoy it. And your Guardian does actually wear the hat. Not that you can see in my Guardian because I have a big pumpkin on my head, but pretty good. The last point that I have is I still didn't like the locking of my gear whenever I was playing Haunted Altars. By the end, I didn't mind it too much because I wasn't really changing my loadout and whatever, but I still feel like it's a bit pointless and it's only really there because it's a portal activity. So I would much rather it be that that wasn't there and that instead, I don't know, there was another modifier or there just wasn't another modifier and it just didn't have the equipment lock. Because it's really annoying if you're trying to try something else. And in a game mode where you're going to get loot that's seasonal, you should be able to swap out your gear. So I don't really understand the point of the locking of your equipment, and I would like to see that done away with, but by the end of the event, I didn't really mind it too much. So the rewards I didn't really cover too in depth in the initial video. There is a shotgun, which I really don't care about, and it's pretty useless in my opinion. There's a submachine gun, which I absolutely adore, which I've not actually loved a submachine gun in a very long time. So this was a very nice surprise. I don't know its name, but I used the submachine gun basically throughout the entire event, and I really, really enjoyed it. The bow seems alright. I haven't used it a ton, but it seems pretty acceptable. And I did finally get the crossbow, and the crossbow is a heavy weapon, which I wasn't expecting, but I really like that you can go and pick up the bolts. Anyway, that's not really Festival of the Lost. They just keep adding this to different activities. I'm just happy I got it. And I do like having a bit more of a rare weapon be added into events, and it's kind of nice for the first weapon in a new category of weapon not be exotic but instead be legendary. So that's quite nice. Armor, opinion's the exact same. Looks really nice. Kind of naff that you can't just wear the helmet of the armor during the event. It defeats the purpose of having like a Slenderman set and not being able to wear a Slenderman like hat. Instead, I could just look like a very well-dressed pumpkin. So I see that's a bit pointless that you buy the entire thing and then you can't wear it. So that'd be nice to get changed, but whatever, it's cosmetic. And I am very happy that they actually made it 3 weeks. 2 weeks would have been way too short. 3 weeks gets good life out of the activity, and quite frankly, the game needs it. So I'm really happy they did that. I am really going to miss Haunted Altars when it disappears. If I had to rate Haunted Altars out of 10, I would probably give it 8 out of 10, because there are some pain points I have around the third wave and just the equipment lock stuff, which I would like to see resolved, and then I'd probably give it 10 out of 10, but that's sort of what's holding it back. The event as a whole, whilst it has improved from previous years, I would still say it's probably sitting around a 7 out of 10. It has a lot of improvements that can be made. I really despise the Crucible game mode. I do think it's a bit disjointed where the different things are in the whole like event card or going to Eva, but things like the tower decorations, the weapons that they provided, and also Haunted Altars, absolutely incredible. Love them, and they always hit it out of the park with the armor set. So always top tier that. Now that I've given my thoughts on the event, here's Sidekick to give her opinion.
Yay! I would agree with the tower. I think the tower was decorated rather nicely. Same as you, I love a good decorated tower. I think it's getting a bit repetitive though. Like it didn't surprise me. Nothing surprised me. But generally, tower was great. Altars of the Sorrows, which is the only thing that I really played, I think was a bit confusing. Like I'm not sure how easy it would have been to understand if I wouldn't have had you. And it didn't come that like natural to me, but once I knew what was going on, I did rather enjoy it. The only problem was that I crashed so often, and that was really frustrating. There was this one time where I was like in the process of rejoining, and it immediately crashed again, and by the time I could then come back, everything was completed and I missed out on everything. So that was really frustrating. I didn't play the Crucible, but from what I've heard, it was a bit of a pain. And yeah, as it comes to the armor, I think it looked quite cool. I did play a little bit as my hunter this time, just because I wanted to see if I can get that awesome. Rather nice to have some variation. And what bothered me a bit was that you could only buy the entire set in one go instead of like just the boots or just the gauntlets, because I don't want the entire set. I just wanted parts of it. And it would be nice if that would be an option, even if it would be like a weekly option, like in the first week you can buy the helmet or something. But yeah, I think overall I did enjoy it. I'm looking forward to Dawning.
That is a good point about the armor. It would be nice if you could buy it separate pieces. Something I didn't mention is that I think I said in the initial video that these events tend to be, or at least in the past, they had a lot of good ways to get bright dust, and it could have been quite repetitive. Like you get a repeatable bounty and it's only 10 bright dust, but you can get it infinitely, and therefore you can build your bright dust reserves relatively easily with some grinding, whereas that's not possible with this version of the event. There is the weekly challenge, which I think gives you like 300 bright dust each week. You could easily get more than that with a repeatable bounty. So I would say that's a bit of a negative, that you can't just get enough bright dust in a short amount of time to get the full set as well. If you don't already have enough, you're sort of straight out of luck.
Yeah.
Which is just ridiculous. Like, you should be able to, if you see something you want during a 3-week event, you should be able to get enough stuff to get the thing. But even if we had have grinded like every single day, it still would have been kind of fine.
What do you think Dawning's gonna be like?
I don't know. I don't know if they'll overhaul it or if it'll be the same thing where you just go and bake cookies. Even if it is the same, like, Dawning is pretty nice laid back event, so.
Yeah, I love good cookies. Do you think there's gonna be new cookies in the new like location, Kepler?
I hope so. I mean, even if there's not, there's other characters around the place to give more cookies to. Like, I don't think we could give cookies to Archie in the past. So it would be nice if that's an option. Because I think last year they didn't add any new ones. So,
No, we had Nimbus.
Ah, did we?
Yeah, and didn't we? Weren't we able to do stuff for Archie? I'm not sure.
If you had to rate the event out of 10, what would you rate it?
Well, depends. Out of 10 with everything I know of Destiny, or out of 10 with just looking at this event only?
Your experience of the event.
6.5.
Fair. I think I give it a 7.
I think it could have been an 8 had it not crashed that often. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, the dread wave is what really pulled it down for me. Even like taking into consideration the difficulty and the performance hits and the crashing and everything. Like, had wave 3 have been perfect, easily could have been like an 8 or 9.
Agreed. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Melon out.
Bye bye.